What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another qtipextra video. Today I'm going to be taking this knob for this amplifier and I'm going to be recreating it in FreeCAD and then printing it out for a replacement for these spots right here. You ready? Let's dive in. Alright, so first I'm going to go ahead and get me some music going here. Alright, so I need a circle. I'm going to get out my calipers and I'm going to find out about how big it is. So I'm getting about 17 millimeters here. So we'll get this. Gonna start it off at 9, which is gonna be 18 overall. And then length, it's about 14 millimeters tall. This really should be a super easy design here. On the inside, it's just got these little grooves. So I'm gonna cut these out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just create another cylinder. Sure, we can go from the bottom. Gonna make this one you know, about the same size. For now, that'll be fine. I can measure it, but I don't really want to at the second. Inside diameter is about 8. So a radius of 4 puts me at right about 8 for a diameter, so that's fine. Just gonna leave 1 millimeter on the bottom. So I'm gonna cut this with this. Cool. That was hard. Now, they've got it hollowed out on the inside of that. So I may do something like that. But it's not totally necessary. Really, it's not that necessary at all. I'm going to cut this with this instead. That's going to leave me the outside perimeter. And then what I will do is duplicate this inside hole. and then try and get a better. I mean, that seems about right, doesn't it? Definitely doesn't need to be that thick, though. So I'm actually gonna just cut that with this. And lo and behold, we have our centerpiece. But if you notice, looking here on the centerpiece, it's not quite all the way out. So I'm gonna bring it up. It's about 3 millimeters. It's about 3 or 4 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is take this cylinder here, reduce it by 4 millimeters, and then move it up 4 millimeters. So that should put it, I think 4 was too much though. Let's make it 3. That looks okay. Looks okay. Anyway. So this is at the point here where I actually want to test print it just for size and fitment of everything. I went ahead and changed this down by 1 millimeter radius on both the inside and the outside holes. So they're now 1 millimeter less, which I think is closer. Okay, so I went ahead and just did a full display capture so that you guys can see the process of exporting to STL, which is what I'm going to use to load into G-code, which will then I will send to my 3D printer and will print out our first prototype. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just get a couple of things saved here. Knob. And then I'm just going to take both of these. We're going to export those. Carrie, you took forever to load today. What the heck? Okay, and obviously I don't want to print it that way, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it around on the build plate. Bam. I'm going to print this in 0.3 millimeters, 20% infill. I don't need to screw with the other settings, although I think I will. No, this will be fine. I always like to preview my files before I actually save them, just so I can make sure that they're doing what I want. And in this particular case, there is a lot. There is actually too much on the bottom, which I didn't realize I had there. Which is more than I realized. I'm not sure why I have that so far in the middle of the plastic. So, so that's baseline. I'm gonna move it. I mean, I feel like there only needs to be about 1 millimeter on the top. So that's strange to me because this overall thing is about 14 millimeters tall. What did I screw up there? Yeah, I screwed this up totally. You know, I kind of like it. Kind of like it that way. So I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this one and move it down like actually let's make it taller. I'm at 14. We'll make it 13. That should be better. Is it just me, or does that still look too thick on the inside? And I could have swore that I brought that down, but I think, there we go. I think that's looking more how I actually wanted it. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to re-export this. Just gonna overwrite it since I haven't done anything yet. And then we'll just bring that into Kira, re-rotate it. I think that's looking better. We'll slice it up and take a look here. I'm a lot happier with how that looks. So we'll have 3 initial layers, and then 1 layer of support, and then it starts digging the outside. Although, did you guys see that? I've got to fix that. Always getting better, party till we die. So I need to make this longer, you see? So it's got to come 1 millimeter up from the top of this. And to be honest, in hindsight, I should have flipped this entire model over upside down so that I was building it up rather than trying to build it downwards, but that's okay. I can make do with it. But anyway, so we're just gonna go, in fact, just to make this a bit easier, we are going to party till we die. I'm gonna set the transparency. Just so that I can see on the inside there where I'm at. Okay, so we'll move this guy. We'll move him right there. Does anybody know how many millimeters that was? Wasn't counting. Three? Actually. Perfect. Okay. Okay. I think that's pretty much looking where I wanted it to be. Let's take it back in here again. We'll just override it again. Okay. Looks like I need to move my cut down now by 1 to what, 3 millimeters. I am really slacking on this one. So this inside hole right here, he needs to come this way. Guess we can just make him should be that should be right. Sorry guys, I'm not being very efficient on this build. Typically things like this I would just spot immediately, but that's okay. We'll just re-import this to Cura one more time. Okay, and I think that is where we are needing to be. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna get my printer on and warmed up, and I'll be right back here in a second. Okay guys, so I got my 3D printer web interface here, and that's how I'm going to get the G code from my computer to the printer over the Wi-Fi connection. And so I'll just go ahead and find that G code right here, get it uploading. And then as soon as this gets uploaded, then I'll finish prepping the printer. Just put down a quick layer of Elmer's glue from a glue stick, which will provide perfect bed adhesion, and then I can get this prototype printed. that's all set. I'll be back here in just a moment, guys. Okay, I got this thing queued up for printing. As you can see, it's working on heating up the bed right now. The 3D printer is right there, just beyond this one that you can't actually see, but it's around the table. So the build platform itself is warming up. Once it gets to 60, then it'll start heating up the extruder temp here, and then this thing will be good to go. So I'll check back here in a bit and keep you posted on the progress. Alright guys, so as you can see, this is just about done printing, and then I'm going to let it cool for just a moment, and then I'll take it off the printer, and then we can compare it to this one and make any additional tweaks that I'm going to need to make from there. I was going to say though, normally I wouldn't actually do a full print of the entire body. Normally I do, you know, just a slice of it here, because then it'll be less time on the actual printer and more time just kind of being able to kind of check the fitment of the different things without wasting time. But where this is such a little print to begin with, it doesn't really matter, so I went ahead and just printed the full thing, especially just for demonstration purposes like we're doing here. But yeah, you can do that if you're looking to try and save some time when you're kind of doing these prototypes, just by kind of printing a sliver. You can even prepare, and I thought about doing this too, but then the bed adhesion wouldn't be as good. But you can, here in Cura, you can bring things down on the build plate, and then you could just, you know, print those. But again, I didn't want to do that in this case because I wouldn't have very much plastic actually touching the build plate, which could definitely mean that this would have some problems printing because it wouldn't be adhering to the build plate like it would need to. So that's kind of why I did it the way that I did it this time. Let me get this print off the print bed and I'll be right back. Okay, so here is the original, and here is the one that I have now printed, and visually it looks like there is a little bit of similar stuff, so more or less it just kind of comes down to testing it. So that's actually what I'm gonna do right now, and just see how it kind of goes on the knob. You know, maybe there's some tweaks or something I need to make. Right off the bat, I can tell that it doesn't want to slide on, so I'm gonna need to make that inside hole just a little bit bigger, and then we should be golden. So if I go back to my design here, this inside hole needs to be just a hair bigger because it's not wanting to slip onto the shaft on the amplifier, on the potentiometer knob there. So what we'll do is we'll grab this, and instead of 3, I'm gonna make it 3. I would do 3.5, I would say at this point. I think that might be a hair too much, and then if so, I'll back it down 1/4 millimeter. But we'll start with being just a millimeter smaller on the inside. And you know, now that I'm comparing the two, you guys can probably tell if you're looking at that, if the focus was ever right. You can definitely tell that my 3D printed one here is a lot kind of thicker than it should be. So anyway, so I'm hoping that this will do the trick. So now that we've made that small adjustment, I'll just go ahead and do a new export here. This time I'm going to call it Proto 2. And in Cura, we can just offload that one and load in Proto 2. And then kind of the same thing here. Now, what I might do here to save time, I might just cancel the, it probably doesn't matter either way, yeah. Anyway, so let me just rotate this around. I mean, this is fine. and it's going to be fine because it's all the same. To be honest, I'll probably just stop this print once it gets about there. I'm going to save it as Proto2. Now, the number in parentheses, I always just do that to denote what resolution this G code is set in, because I don't know if you guys know this, but everything else you can actually find if you open up the G code file itself with, say, something like Notepad. You can actually get all of this information. You can also get infill. Can't remember what it's called, but here in the G code itself, you can get what these settings are. But I just like to be able to kind of know at a glance, looking at the file, what resolution it's set to. So if you were ever wondering, that's why I have the 0.3 in there. So let me get this one up on the printer and print it out and keep you updated. Alright guys, so I got a little distracted and the whole thing printed out, but that's totally fine. So here's the original again, and then here's Proto2, and they are definitely a lot more similar, but when I try to put it on the amplifier itself, it definitely goes on, so I know that I'm there. However, now it's too loose. So now I'm going to go ahead and just dial it back down to that 1/4 millimeter like I was talking about earlier. So we'll come back in here into this this hole right here, and we'll make this 3 1/4 instead, and hope that that's enough. Now, I could probably start to add it in right now. Normally, and I don't think on the original you can really see it, but I think it should barely got just a little teeny bit of a rib on the kind of the inside of it here, so that it grabs onto the knob on the amplifier itself. However, I'm not going to do it that way. I have a slightly different approach that I want to take, and I'll show you guys that here in a few. But let me go ahead and prototype this on the sizing one more time. I think we should be getting close, and then we can move on to finalizing the looks and the feel of the actual knob here and get this project wrapped up. Alright guys, so the next one just came off the printer here, and I'm gonna guess that it's still just a hair too big, but we'll go ahead and test it out here. Actually, that's about a perfect fit. Yeah, that's about perfect, I would say. So, and then the other one will go on basically, you know, like that. Now, I'm not just going to leave it here, but I do like the size of that, and to be honest, that grips kind of the plastic just perfectly. Basically what it does is it creates enough friction that it's not going to overcome the knob if you go to its stop point. And so I'm actually pretty satisfied with exactly how that turned out, and I don't feel like I'm going to actually even make the internal little clip that I was talking about earlier. So basically if I come back to the design here, and we in here, what I was going to do is I was basically going to put a little key or notch or whatever on the inside of here, so that it would latch on there on the amplifier, so that it wouldn't be able to turn. But because there is enough friction here on the inside, without doing that, I'm just gonna keep it the way that it is, because for the application that we're using this in, it's not gonna be an issue either way. So I'm just gonna let it be the way that it is and call that good. So now that I know that the sizing and everything is exactly the way I want, now I can just go ahead and get this kind of thing cleaned up, kind of looking cool, you know, looking awesome. So let's see. I do need some sort of indicator on here, and there's several ways I could go about doing that. On the original knob, they just have a little white painted indicator, and then on the side they've just got some stuff for grip. So I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create this little bit of grip here. So to do that, I'll just create another cylinder, and I need to look at either the top or the bottom view. We'll look at it from the bottom for now. Let's turn one of these off at least. And then essentially I'm going to make this quite a bit smaller, probably 0.5. And then, is that the outside? This is the outside? Okay. So basically what I want to do is I want to align this up. What I'll essentially do is I will cut out from the outside of the knob. Probably not that much. I might have to go all the way to 0.25 increments. I like that right there. Yep. Okay. And then I will make this equal height with the knob. And then what I can do is under draft, I always like to turn the grid off because it annoys me. We will create an array of objects here, and I'm just going to set it that way for now, but really I need this to be polar, so it didn't really matter. And then let's put, I don't know, 25 notches in there. I mean, I'm not going to count how many they did on this one, but you know, we could do something like that for now. In fact, I'm just going to go to 30. Yeah, I'm just going to go to 30, so that looks kind of dope. And then basically I'm going to fuse these together as one part. Knob main. And then I'm going to cut that with this. And then there's my little grips. So that looks pretty good. And then basically, because I'm going to be printing it this orientation on the print bed, I kind of want to I could make a notch, an inward notch. I can't extrude it. I can't make it come out, and this one doesn't come out. I guess this one technically is a little bit of just a slit on the inside, so I can totally do that, and that would be done. I could also make a little notch that actually protrudes out from the side, which I think would be kind of interesting. So I'm going to just play with that idea for just a second and just see if that is going to be something that seems like I like, but I'll probably just default back to the way that it was. The way that it originally was. But like I say, we'll just, in fact, I don't even need, yeah, let's That's probably fine. See, so what I think I will do is basically just line it up with this little remaining notch right here. And so basically all I need to do is something like that. And I mean, geez, it definitely doesn't need to be much of anything at all, you know? And then so I could definitely leave it like this. I mean, that's probably fine. So that's option one. Okay, just for the fun of it, this is going to be another option. Then I can compare the two. And so on this one, more or less the same, except for I would just yeah, probably about that. And then lengthwise, he probably doesn't need to be super long. I think that probably looks good right there. So then basically I could build it out like that, or I can actually cut it out and make it an internal notch like this, like that, which is basically how they have it here. It's just not as deep. I gotta be honest, I kind of like it this way. I kind of like that a lot. So I think I'm gonna leave it that way. I'm not gonna use notch one. Which, I mean, really either way is totally fine. It just really doesn't matter. But I kind of like that. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then we can kind of clean this up. So I'm actually going to take these, and we're going to do a fillet of 0.25 millimeters. That looks pretty cool. I could probably do the same here. I might be able to do all three of these in the same function. Yep. It does look pretty cool. I could probably make it just a bit bigger. Yeah, that looks cool. It's looking pretty sweet. And then nobody cares about the bottom. I mean, nobody's going to see any of this. But what I really want to do is I want to, on the outside here, I want to round that edge a little bit. Not that much. Yeah, that looks okay. And then I just want to do even less on this one. That just gives it a nice rounded look. Okay, so I like this. I think that this is basically the final product. I'll probably print out 2 copies, one for each one. I could get fancy and I could put like a G for gain and an F on the other one for like frequency, but they're already labeled on the amplifier itself, so it's not 100% necessary either way. So I'm really liking how this is looking, although I think this one I do want to make 0.35 as well, because isn't that what I made this one? I made that 1.5. Nah, I mean, who cares? Nobody's ever going to see that. Doesn't matter at all. So anyway, so I think that this looks good. So let me save this, and what I will do is go ahead and export this as a prototype, and we'll load it up into Kira. Time to slice and dice! So I think the model definitely turned out pretty good. So let's go ahead and just orient it for printing. Yeah, it looks pretty clean. The other thing I could do, actually, I think I will do it really quick. Again, none of it matters, but I'm just gonna do a fillet here as well. Just gives it that kind of nice, clean look. Again, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to anybody at all. But yeah. Okay, I'm all liking that. This looks super clean. Okay, and then if we take a look here, that's good. And then if I look at the first layer, definitely gets that notch out with about 2 layers of gap, and then fills in the rest. Yep, so this looks great. Let me go ahead and get this sent to the printer here, guys, and I will update you here in a few minutes with the final product. Okay, guys, and this one is done printing as well, so here is the final product. See if I can get a better focus. And so this is the original. Now I could paint it white, but to be honest, I'll probably just leave it. So basically, all I've got to do is get a second one printed. So this one is going to go, what I'm actually going to do, I pretty much know where this is. I'm going to use this one as a reference point. I'm going to get this one all the way down to the end here and line this up on the end of its turn, and then just make sure that on the other side that it aligns up right where I need it to be on this side here, and it looks like it's good. So I'll just go ahead and get that centered. on the frequency part, and then take this off, and then I can line up on the center the new knob, and get it pushed on there. Just like that. Perfect. And taking a look, you can easily see the notch. So that looks good. So the other thing I'm working on now is, I don't know if you can see it here on the screen or not, but I do have a second one that's basically warming up right now. And it'll be printing. And then this product will be totally complete here in just a few minutes. Alright guys, so here's the last and final knob that just came off the printer. So I'll go ahead and just get it lined up here. And get it pushed on. And it is good to go. And that is the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Have fun and enjoy.